Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. As you see, I'm busy on the dashboard. I'm trying to fix a little glitch here as we go live on the air. I thank each and every one of you for joining me. Oh, where is it? Okay, we got it. Each and every one of you for joining me. I thank each and every one of you for giving me your time. I know I haven't been on the air lately, but salute to Holly's in the building. Salute to Mr. Carter. Greetings. We just gotta look at everything that's going on and we gotta make heads or tails of it. I haven't been on the air because I'm working on some stuff behind the scene for everybody. And the reason you see the background up is because I had a couple people they didn't like the green screen or whatever up. So maybe two or three people told me about that, and so I'm like, okay, I'll put up a banner. But what I really want you guys to do instead of paying attention to the backdrop, like the green screen, I want you to listen to the message. There's nothing more important than the message, okay? The message is something that can empower you, especially as we dissect everything that's going on, okay? So, again, thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining me on Locals, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and Twitter. Thank you all for joining me. Today's show is titled Live Breaking News, the Spark That Ignites the War. Now, we've just had reports saying that America has just started her bid of retaliation. Okay. Let me pull something up for you real quick. All right, let's go to RT. It says U.S. launches retaliatory strikes in the Middle East. That's the article. It's breaking right now. So we're going to cover this stuff. And before we cover it, like I said, I've been working on some stuff in the back for the channel, and I've also been working on stuff for Patreon and for channel members. So I'm one person, and I got my son right here, and he helps me with this stuff. So you guys, please charge it to my head and not to my heart. I'm working as fast as I can to get content out for you all. And I'm not like everybody else. I'm not trying to report every day. Just say I've reported. What I want to talk to you about, I want it to be soul shaking. I want it to be soul stirring. I want it to jog your mind and to make you use that gray matter upstairs. I don't want to just regurgitate the simple news that is out. I want to give you things to think about and to analyze so that you'll be better for it. Okay. So sometimes I might not be on for a day or two, and then other days I might be on 2 or 3 times a day for a week or so. Okay. So you guys bear with me. So the article is titled U.S. launches retaliatory strikes in the Middle East. A series of attacks targeted alleged pro-Iranian groups in Syria and Iraq. U.S. forces have commenced airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed militants in Syria and Iraq in response to a series of assaults on American military bases in the region, including a drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers and wounded more than 40. Now, let's stop. We're going to take what we just read. We're not going to even read the rest of it at this moment. We're going to take what we just read and we're going to analyze what we just read, and we'll see if these people that America is attacking are Iranian-backed militias, and we're going to see is America justified in her attacks or her so-called quote-unquote retaliation. We're going to use what we read, and we're going to use definitions, and we're going to use proven facts, okay? We're not going to embellish. We're not going to lean to our own understanding at this moment. We're going to do the facts. We're going to take the factual route. So again, let us read the title. U.S. launches, and then it has it quoted, not quoted, but it has it where it says retaliatory strikes in the Middle East, okay? And the sentence right up under that, it says a series of attacks targeted alleged pro-Iranian groups in Syria and Iraq, pro-Iranian, okay? Now it went from pro-Iranian to Iranian-backed in the next one, from pro-Iranian to Iranian-backed. U.S. forces have commenced airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed militants in Syria and Iraq in response to a series of assaults on American military bases in the region, including a drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers and wounded more than 40. Okay, now let's go to something. Okay, Give me 1 second. You know, we're reading this together and we're live on the air together. So let's go to what Google is now referring to as the definition of militias, right? The same thing that the United States used to break down and make it derogatory over there. The Constitution provides for militias to be armed here, okay? But over there, militias are associated with terrorism. You understand? Right? But over here, militias are patriots and people who back their Constitution, okay? But we're going to go to the definition. Because if we go to the definition and we read definition and we get a deep understanding, regardless of what somebody may intend to say, we understand what they're trying to convey, okay? So the word militia, according to Google, is a noun. The plural form is militias with an S. It says a military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in an emergency. Okay, let's just use that before we go to any more of the definitions. Let's just use that. So, why would there be militias and why would they be attacking America if she was invited there and if she was wanted on their territory? Why would there be militias? All right. And why would militias attack their allies, especially the people who claim to be in their land fighting for freedom and against terrorism? I'm asking you that because we're looking at this definition. Listen to what it says. A military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement means to help, right? To give a relief to a regular army in an emergency. So right there with the term militias, we know that for there to be the militias in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Syria, then there must be some type of geopolitical, economic, political, or military emergency, according to the definition. And these are not foreigners. Remember this definition. A military force that is raised from the civil population. So now, if they are from that population and they are indigenous to that population and they are attacking America, we have to ask the question is, has America outlived her state? Do they want her on their property, on their sovereign territory? Of course not if they are attacking America and demanding that she leaves, right? So if we just take the first definition, we see that militia has legitimacy to it because it is an indigenous group of people that raises up from the masses out of the suffering of the masses to help supplement the regular armed forces of that nation in an emergency. And they deem that American occupation, right, American military bases on their sovereign territory is a national emergency. The same as what Americans would deem if anybody set up military bases on American soil. And we see militias all across America demonstrate. And they're not foreign. These people are indigenous to the so-called American Republic. So now we see that the militias, according to the definition, has the legitimacy if America is on their soil. According to the definition, not according to what the Pentagon or the State Department or the White House says. We're talking about what Google's definition has said. Okay? It goes further and it says, a military force that engages, listen to this, a military force that engages in rebel or terrorist activities in opposition to a regular army. Now stop right there. That definition has to be disqualified. Why? Because the Iraqi armed forces support the Iraqi militias. So they're not in opposition to, so they're not delegitimate or illegitimate, right? The militias in Syria that are helping fight the Kurdish, I'm going to leave it like this and just say the Kurdish people who are supporting Americans' occupation and the terrorists, ISIS and all of this stuff, they have legitimacy because they are formed to help supplement the legitimate fighting forces of Syria. So now we have the militias in Iraq are legitimate. They're not in opposition. So the second definition goes out the window for the militias. And when we look at Lebanon and we look at Syria, that same definition goes out of the window because they have legitimacy because they're not fighting in opposition of the recognized military forces. They're fighting to help supplement and help those forces overcome the task of occupiers, of removing occupiers, right? Right? So it says, we have the definition of militia. We have that. And what is very important about having that definition is once you have it, understanding is golden, right? So we can go back to that order. And we say U.S. forces. Okay, U.S. forces. First, that's the first sentence of the first paragraph. U.S. forces. Now, I want to ask you, we're going to stop right there. We don't even need to read anymore on the have commenced airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed militants in Syria. Let's just start right there. U.S. forces. Where's the U.S.? Is it in West Asia or the Middle East or North Africa or Asia itself? If it's not, hold on one second. Yeah, we're there too. My son is helping me with, with what we're doing right now. So if you hear noise in the background, that's him. He's helping me with the green screen and all this other stuff. Okay. So now, is America in South America? I'm talking about, is the United States of America in South America or Central America? No, the United States of America resides in North America, right? So right there, U.S. forces are illegitimate forces in Iraq and Syria fighting legitimate forces, which are the so-called Iranian-backed militias, according to the definitions. Do you understand? You can say what you want, you can believe what you want, but the definitions tell us another story. Okay? So now, and mind you, listen, we're doing this all on the flow, all on the fly. We're doing this like right live. No pre-plan, no none of that. You understand? So, like I said, I'm reading this with you all. We're going into definitions with you all, and we're getting an understanding together. Okay? Now, it says, U.S. forces have commenced airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed militants in Syria and Iraq in response to a series of assaults on American military bases in the region. Now, stop right there. That paragraph wasn't as forthcoming as it should have been because it described U.S. forces commencing strikes against so-called Iranian-backed militias in Syria and in Iraq, right? But yet, when it comes down to where American bases are that were attacked, it says in the region. It didn't say in Iraq and in Syria. It said, it skipped that part. I'm telling you, these people are sly. They don't respect you. They can't respect you. For them to put stuff together like this, they have to be saying these people are dumb as bricks. Think about that. Let's read this again. Now, mind you, we're doing this together for the first time. U.S. forces have commenced airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed militants in Syria and Iraq. So now they describe to you the attack, right? They tell you where the attacks or the retaliation takes place, right? Then from specifically naming where the retaliation takes place, then they, out of the blue, can't tell you the specific places where the U.S. bases are. They go from telling you they are attacking Iraq and Syria to saying this. In response to a series of assaults on American military bases in the region. How come they can't? Why didn't they say in response to American military bases in Syria or American military bases in Iraq? And why are they in Iraq and why are they in Syria when the very people who are attacking them want them out? Thank you. I see you. They want them out. So again, Just in that alone, we see the technology right there. Hey, hold on one second. Hey, yeah, do that. And push that back a little bit. I'm trying to get the lighting right too. I'm sorry, everybody. We're working on this stuff a little bit. Bring it up some more. Move that off there. You see that? Right here. Yeah, move that. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Yeah. So we're trying to get this stuff right. I'm sorry, everybody. We're doing it live on the air. I had to rush home to try to set up a show real quick.
Bless y'all. I hope you have a good show.
Thank you, son. Anyway, but look at this. They go from specifically telling you where the attacks that they are lashing out and attacking these so-called militants at, to having amnesia aware of the bases that the United States claim to be defending. Isn't that something? I can be direct with you. Oh, I'm attacking them because such and such. I'm attacking this house and that house. And then when somebody asks you, why are you? They assaulted me. Well, where did they assault you at? In the neighborhood. You didn't say that they assaulted you in their house, in their bedroom, stealing. And the reason they assaulted you because they caught you stealing and they wanted you and they asked you several times to leave. So to minimize your blame, the blame on you, you switch it up and say they assaulted you in the neighborhood. Now you're not completely lying, but you're omitting the necessary facts that are needed to come to a clear conclusion on why the attack took place. And that's the problem with politics today. That's the problem with Western politics today. They lie, they steal, they cheat, they disrespect people. They don't respect the people who put them in office. They don't respect the people who are funding them. They don't respect anybody. All they respect is a payday. They don't care how much blood must be shed. They just want power and money and luxury at all costs. But I bet you when you read that, if you've read that, you didn't even look at it like that. That's how they shape and fashion and mold their articles. Because they know most people will just read it and just keep going with it. But look what it says. On a series of assaults on American military bases in the region. Not in Syria, not in Iraq, but in the region. And it says, including a drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers and wounded more than 40. Now, they didn't tell you that this, and everybody keeps saying it took place in Jordan. The Jordanian government stated officially that it did not take place on Jordanian soil. So now, we know that America has an illegal outpost in Syria. We know that. Multiple. I think like 24 or more, right? Now, we also know that Al-Tum, I think that, what is it called? Al-Tum. I can never get that name right of that main base that America what she uses to transport ISIS in and out of Syria, in and out of Iraq, and then she uses that as a hub where when she needs to, she can transport them to Afghanistan and in Ukraine. Al-Tum, I forget what it's called. But anyway, this is Syrian territory. All right. Now, let us look at this because we have to analyze this the right way, get our emotions, our feelings out of the way. The recognized and accepted legitimate authorities of the Syrian Arab Republic are under the administration of Bashar al-Assad. Is that not right? He's recognized not only by the UN and almost all nations around the world to be the legitimate president of Syria. And remember, he won the presidency again with 75 to 85% of the vote in a time of war, and most of the population was living in areas that he controlled. In the Carter Center, Jimmy Carter, former president, even stated that he won by that margin. So now we have an understanding that the legitimate authorities and representatives of the Syrian Arab Republic are under the presidential administration of Bashar Assad, right? All right. So now Bashar Assad is the commander-in-chief, the supreme commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Syrian Arab Republic. Is that not right? Have either the foreign ministry, the Defense Department, or the presidential palace in any way, shape, form, or idea convey to America that they wanted them on their soil? And if they haven't, have they conveyed to the opposite that they wanted them out of their territory? Yeah, they've conveyed it on multiple occasions that America must leave Syrian territory. They're occupying a third of Syrian territory. They're stealing the oil and they're taking it back and selling it through Iraq and through Turkey. And then Turkey is shipping it back to Israel so that Turkey gets a cut out of it. The Kurds get a cut out of it. And Israel gets all that would have, even though they're paying, it's cheaper than what they would have been paying on the market price. They're doing that with the gas. They're doing that with the corn. They're doing that with the wheat. So they're strong-arming or committing international piracy on the territory of the Syrian Arab Republic. Now, if we go back to that definition of militia, right? That definition of militia says a military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in an emergency. Would that not be an emergency? The government has demanded that you leave. You're in violation of U.S. law. I'm talking about the United States. They're in violation of U.S. law by violating the territorial integrity of Syria and ignoring the wishes of the Syrian people and the Syrian government. So first of all, they're in violation of U.S. law. Second of all, the Syrian Arab Republic has demanded multiple times for them to leave. They have ignored it. As a matter of fact, Vicki Nuland, the war hawk, came out of yesterday or day before yesterday and said that we're not leaving Syria, even though it is in violation of international law too. We're not leaving any of our bases in Syria or Iraq. That's what she said. So now, if Nuland openly says that and states that, and U.S. posture has been that, and U.S. policy has shown us that, then when these small armed forces that are there to relieve the military and to help the Syrian Arab Republic's military and the Iraqi military defend its sovereignty and its territory, who is that? Who is that fault? Who is wrong? Isn't it the United States? You're working in contravention to U.S. law. You're working in contravention to Iraqi law. You're working in contravention to Syrian law, and you're working in contravention to international law. So if you are attacked and you are illegally occupying this outpost, you're at fault. Not Syria, not Iran, not Lebanon. It's you, according to international law. Okay? Now, I'm telling you, we go to, we get these definitions. People don't like it, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, please. So look, let's go a little further. Where's the article at? All righty. So it goes on and says, Washington's latest strikes come nearly a week after Sunday's deadly attack on a secretive U.S. base in Jordan, near the Syrian and Iraqi borders, called Tower 22. That is a part of Al-Tunf. Tower 22, that's a part of the base that the United States occupy in Syria. They say in Iraq. I mean, they say in Jordan. That's so that it can seem that America was innocently minding her own business in Jordan and came under attack. And notice nowhere in that it says that U.S. base was struck in Michigan, Florida, California, Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, New Mexico, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut. None of that, right? Right? It says, Washington's latest strikes come nearly a week after Sunday's deadly attack on a secretive base in Jordan, near the Syrian and Iraqi borders. Why would you set up a base right there? It is to try to prevent Syria from getting help from Iraq and from Iran. So now that base is secretive. Why? Why is it so secretive? I can understand if you had a secretive base on U.S. soil, but you're occupying Syrian, Iraqi, and Jordanian soil. Why is it secretive? And again, let me ask you this question. When has a drone strike done that much damage? One drone strike. Okay? And I want to ask you this too. All right? And since we're talking about the drone strike, what happened to the early warning systems? What happened to the radars? Remember, America boasts that she has the most advanced radars and most advanced military systems in the world. What the hell happened for the drones to hit the base? Tower 22. See, something ain't right here. I'm telling you this. Something's not right here. Any thinking person can see that there's a lot of BS being spewed by the powers that be in the media. Let's go a little further. And I see y'all in the chat. I'm going to go to the chat in a few minutes, okay? Give me a second. It says, and they go out of their way to say retaliation or retaliatory strikes. And then they go out of their way to say that we're going to bomb this, and this, but we don't want war. We're not trying to escalate. Now, if we use that logic, right? If Iran says, hey, listen, we don't want war with America, but we're going to bomb your base, your illegal outposts all across Syria. We're going to bomb. Actually, Iran actually has that right to do that while we're talking. But for the case of what we're doing right now, we're going to push that out the way. But they do. They have a defense pact with Syria that when Syria or Iran goes into a war or under attack, they have the right to respond in kind as if they were the ones that were being attacked. So they do have that right. They have that prerogative. But we're going to just push that to the side for a minute and say Iran has told the United States in no uncertain terms that we're going to bomb your bases in Syria, but we don't want escalation. We're going to assassinate a few of your generals, but we don't want escalation. We're going to park our most powerful submarine that Russia had given us, and we upgraded ourselves. We're going to park that in the Gulf of Mexico, and then and right off the coast of Florida, we're going to put 2 destroyers that are armed with hypersonic missiles, and then on the California coast, we're going to deploy some of our fleet over there. But we don't want escalation now. But every news cycle, Iran has assassinated a U.S. general, colonel, or somebody of importance. And while all of this is going on, we see infrastructure being destroyed or blowing up or catching fire out of the blue. Do you believe that America would think that Iran does not want escalation? I'm asking. Do you think that America would say, well, Iran, you're not being aggressive by posting your submarine with Russian capabilities in the Gulf of Mexico and some destroyers off the coast of Florida and a couple warships that have hypersonic missiles off the coast of California? Now, you're not being aggressive. You're not being aggressive assassinating some of our top scientists, nuclear scientists. You're not being aggressive blowing up some of our industry. You're not being aggressive killing off some of our political leadership. That's not aggressiveness. We know that that's all fair and loving war. That's not aggressive. We're not going to respond. Do you think that would be the demeanor of the American empire? And if not, then why do you think that Iran should have the same demeanor that America would not have? I'm asking these things. I ask questions that others won't. I pose questions that others omit. I show you in real time the madness of the leadership, the insane policies and thinkings of the people, so that we can build on it and look for ways to solutions. Now look, let's go further. It says, The retaliatory bombings marks the start of what will likely be a series of larger-scale U.S. strikes on Iranian-backed militias who have carried out attacks on U.S. troops in the Middle East, CNN reported on Friday, citing two unidentified American officials. Now, it didn't say in Latin America. It didn't say off the western U.S. coast or the eastern U.S. coast. It didn't say on the border with Mexico and the United States or on the border with Canada and the United States. No, it says these things are going on in the Middle East, where what? Syria resides, where what? Jordan resides, where Lebanon resides, where Iran resides, right? So who is the aggressor here? This is what I'm telling you. You've got to look at this stuff for what it is, not for what you want it to be or what you think it is. You have to look at this stuff for what it is. And they put this stuff down like this because they don't think enough of you to believe that you would analyze what they're saying. All right? And it says, an unidentified Pentagon official told the New York Times that Friday's airstrike targeted a half dozen sites in Iraq and Syria. Now stop right there. Just that alone. Let's see if America wants escalation. Okay? America says she's getting back and she's retaliating for what? A deadly attack on a secretive base on the Syrian, Jordanian, and Iraqi border, right? That's one base. According to this article, it says an unidentified Pentagon official told the New York Times that Friday's airstrikes targeted a half dozen sites in Iraq and Syria. That's not escalation. Huh? Talk to me. So you screaming about one, and you say you don't want escalation and you don't want war, and you openly saying that you hit 6. That's not escalation. That's not leading towards war. See, right here, we talk about the breaking news, and we talk about those sparks, the ones that everybody omit, that ignites the war. Okay? That's what we talk about. So, again, it says the attacks on Tower 22 was planned, resourced, and facilitated by the Islamic resistance in Iraq. Stop right there. The Islamic resistance. Okay. Give me a second. Now, why did I stop right there for a minute? Because, first of all, anything that's related to Islam, the West has demonized, right? Any and everything. When the West bombs and kills people, it's collateral damage. How dare you think we try to do that, even if it's thousands of people, right? When a person from that region that you kill some of their family members, they retaliate, that's terrorism. So over this, since 2021, since 2001, they have been putting this in your mind. See, division. That's what they're doing, that division. They're dividing. So that they find that if you are divided, then they can control your mind. If they can control your mind, they don't have to worry about you challenging their policies, right? So it says, I want you to understand this. Look at this real good. It says that the attack on Tower 22 was planned, resourced, and facilitated by the Islamic resistance in Iraq. The White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said on Wednesday. Now stop right there. All right, let me get this chair right. It's squeaking a little bit. So now look, Iraq is an Islamic nation. It's the Islamic Republic of Iraq. Just like you got the Islamic Republic of Iran. You got the Christian nation of Italy. You understand what I'm saying? So what they try to do, they put a negative connotation on what is going on. And I'm going to explain something to you all in just a second. Let's reread this. Remember, we read for understanding. The attack on Tower 22 was planned, resourced, and facilitated by the Islamic resistance in Iraq. By the Islamic resistance. Why isn't it planned, resourced, and facilitated by the resistance of Iraq? Because even though Iraq might be a Muslim majority nation, it has all different factions of Christianity there. It has a Jewish population there, right? So why did you go out of your way to put Islamic resistance in Iraq? So, but we're going to use that, and we're going to see what they're talking about. Let's go to the dictionary, okay? Oh, man. The word resistance means, it's a noun, the refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument, opposition to, hostility to, aversion to, refusal to accept. So this Islamic resistance, what are they refusing to accept? According to the Western reporting themselves, they are refusing to accept a U.S. military presence in Iraq. What's wrong with that? America refuses to accept occupation on her soil. Look at what's going on in the southern border right now. Look at what's going on, because they're talking about migrants coming through. This is what they're talking about. So now they are trying, what they say, to defend their territorial integrity while erasing the territorial integrity and sovereignty of those nations. And then trying to put a negative spin on that resistance to their occupation. I mean, come on. Seriously. Oh, man, I tell you what, these people are absolutely mad, okay? Now, I'm going to play a video. I played the video before, but I'm going to play this video. All right, let's see where it's at real quick, because I want to come back and read something in this article real quick. Let's see. Where is it at? I don't know if I downloaded it again, but I want you to see just how NATO is, and how without the U.S. and NATO, there could be peace. Without the belligerency of the United States and NATO, there could be peace. Everybody knows what stands at as the obstacle to peace in the world. Everybody knows that. So I'm going to play something real quick. Here we go. I'm going to play a couple clips, okay? You guys, give me 1 second. Let me play this one first to lead up to it, and then we'll come back in just a second.
You have to understand, I think, and it's almost difficult to believe in a sense, but the delusional level at which American foreign policy operates, and the real crux of this conflict is NATO expansion, of course, the eastward expansion of NATO. Back when James Baker was Secretary of State, he promised to Gorbachev NATO would not expand 1 inch eastward. I think at that time there were 17 countries in NATO. Today there are 30, because they promptly broke that promise, and in 91, in 2004, 2007, they kept expanding. Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, etc. And then, the real sort of the red line was Ukraine and Georgia. And, even commentators and political analysts on the right, and conservatives like Robert Gates, former Secretary of Defense, in his memoirs in 2014, at the very end of the book, he says, Ukraine and Georgia, the idea of them as candidates for NATO inclusion was reckless overreach. Even people like Henry Kissinger, George Kennan, when these are people that are warning it's a bad idea, I mean, you wonder what's going on in the heads of people at the Biden administration. But the U.S. desperately needs a long, protracted war. It's an economic imperative, in a sense. I mean, the U.S. has to have a villain. They have to sell armaments. They have to create conflicts. And when Putin took power in 2000, remember, he actively wanted to join NATO. And everybody in the European Union saw that as, quite possibly a good idea until the United States told them, no, that's a terrible idea because the U.S. had long-term plans.
Now, we're going to go to another clip. This is very important. I'm trying to lay out a few clips. They're short clips, and then one will be a couple minutes long, but it's like 1 minute and 17 seconds. So I want you to also remember this, okay? Where is it? Right here.
America is showing itself to be the hypocrite of all hypocrites here. America is the country that is telling the world that it supports free trade and competition and free enterprise, and yet it is the single biggest block to free competition and free enterprise that exists on the earth. America has all of these countries under sanctions because it wants to use economics to dictate politics to other countries. It also wants to dictate culture and ethnic relations between nations which have been friends among themselves and lived and coexisted in peace for generations and centuries and even millennia until America came and set them at each other's throats. America has inherited the English curse of divide and conquer in the interest of their empire. And the world is now smartening up to this. We cannot be allowed to be forced to fight among ourselves. I was here in Serbia during the crippling sanctions that America used to try and crush Serbia. They had no effect. The people banded together. I was in Japan when America was sanctioning Japan, and I was advising the Prime Minister's office. They did not cow Japan. Japan continued to produce. I have been in Canada when American interests imposed sanctions on our wood industry. America is the global bully. And as the nations of the world wake up to this fact, the bully, when it's outnumbered by all countries in the earth, will fail and fall. And this is how empires fall. This is the fall of America. They, by sanctioning the world, are sanctioning themselves.
What did he say? This is the fall of America. We're watching this in real time. I'm going to play a few more clips, but I had to get that clip in. Matt, I want you to listen to that clip again. It's very important that you understand this, because if you hear what he's saying and you see what America is doing, and you see the hypocrisy of her leaders and the unbridled lust for war, right, and sanctions, you can understand that this is all a part of a dying regime. You understand? And that's what we're watching. We're watching them trying to stave off certain destruction or sudden destruction. They are trying their best to, and that's why the policy makers are insane. That's why the policies don't stick. That's why the policies make no sense, and they don't produce anything that's fruitful. They only exacerbate and metastasize the already bad situations. You understand? So I'm going to play a couple more clips, short clips, but they're clips nonetheless, and we want to see them. Okay.
The U.S. has two purposes in occupying the eastern third of Syria completely illegally, of course. One purpose is to deny Syria the ability to undertake reconstruction, because the U.S. is plundering the oil and wheat resources so that Syria doesn't have the money to reconstruct itself after 12 long years of failed U.S. regime change war, which was supported by the U.S. allies, such as, unfortunately, Canada. That's reason one. Reason two is the U.S. officials have openly stated that they're occupying the eastern third of Syria in order to use that occupation as a bargaining chip in the final settlement over the end of the U.S. proxy war in Syria. So the U.S. is in there illegally. They know they're there illegally, but they're staying there because they're using it for a foreign policy goal. And it just shows the utter hypocrisy of the U.S. In condemning Russia for its military presence in Ukraine, while at the same time they're occupying the eastern third of Syria. And we know that the U.S. That the Russians are in Ukraine because the U.S. and NATO provoked them into being into a war in which NATO expanded 800 kilometers eastward, despite a promise made in 1991 to Mr. Gorbachev, and they have provoked the war with Russia because they have pushed their expansion right to the gates of Moscow. So the U.S. is an aggressive empire. It is waging wars around the world or destabilizing countries from Syria to Ukraine to Taiwan to Cuba because the U.S. has one thing in mind, and that is hegemony. In other words, it seeks to dominate the planet.
So we have an understanding on that also, right? So let's look at this. Let's go back to that article, okay? This article says, let's see. Let's go back to this article. This article then says this. It says, the group consists of multiple militias, including Kataib Hezbollah, that is the Iraqi resistance group, not to be confused with Hezbollah of Lebanon. The Kataib Hezbollah is the militias that form the Iraqi group. Now, I want to point something out to you all that may be missing in all of this. When General Soleimani was assassinated by the United States, I actually think that was one of the most cowardice actions that a leader had done, and especially Donald Trump. That was a coward to ask this man to come over so that you can talk to him, so that he can help you like he helped you before. Because people don't know that Soleimani helped the United States a lot of times when they were in quagmires in the Middle East. He went over there and he studied the situation and showed them how to extricate themselves from certain situations. A lot of people don't know that. So again, they get the call. They ask for Soleimani to come. He comes to Iraq. Immediately there, Trump gives the go to assassinate this man. That was a coward act. And listen, the reason I brought that up is because of this. He wasn't the only one killed. There was an Iraqi general killed. There was an Iranian, I believe, general or colonel killed. And there was a general from the Kataib Hezbollah militia. So when that militia struck, it was striking back in retaliation, not the other way around. You understand? So let's go further. Which has launched multiple rocket and drone strikes against U.S. forces in the region since the Israel-Hamas war began in October. And the reason you guys see me doing this right here is because I'm having dental work. You know, I had chipped tooth in martial arts, and I'm having work, and my face feels numb from time to time, stuff like that. So you guys gotta forgive me, okay? So you'll see me doing this. But it goes further and it says, Kirby suggested that the U.S. response would be carried out over multiple days. Listen to what he says. Tell me if this is not warning escalation or not. It won't just be a one-off, he said. As I said, the first thing you see will not be the last thing you see. He added that Biden is still trying to avoid a broader war with Iran. How can those two statements in the same sentence, in the same paragraph, be both in line with each other? Did you hear what he just said? Kirby suggested that the U.S. response would be carried out over multiple days. It won't be just a one-off, he said. As I said, the first thing you see will not be the last thing you see. He added that Biden is still trying to avoid a broader war with Iran. Now, let me tell you what that's like. Let me give you an example. What Kirby wants you to believe that if my brother, and I'm not saying my brother's not here, he doesn't live with me, but I'm just saying, my brother lives in the room on the other side of the house, okay? And America is striking my brother and saying, listen, I don't want to escalate. I'm not going to kill your brother, but I'm going to bomb the room that he's in. And I know your babies go down there. So we're not trying to escalate. We don't want him to die, even though the bombing will kill my brother and my babies. You don't want escalation. You don't want escalation. Mind you, that this is my property. Mind you, that under the law, I am guaranteed a right to protect my family and not just American law. Under divine law, under God's creation, I have the right to defend my family, even if it costs me my life. And by golly, I will. You understand? And so you're telling me to ignore the blood bonds that has us brothers, to ignore the genetic similarity, to ignore that this is my house you're attacking, my brother you're attacking, my children you're killing, but you don't want escalation. I'm asking anybody if does that make any sense to you? Does it make any sense to you? Because a thinking person would be like, what in the world? Are these people drunk or high? But let's go a little further. It says, media reports in recent days raised concerns that Biden was telegraphing his plans and giving the militias too much time to take preparatory steps, such as vacating obvious targets. Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin tried to deflect those worries on Friday, denying that the administration was giving Iran too much warning. He said the U.S. response will be multi-tiered. So I'm gonna keep hitting you, I'm gonna hit you, and I'm gonna keep hitting you, but there's no cause for escalation though. I'm gonna kill some of your people, and I'm gonna keep killing some of your people, but I don't want escalation though. I don't want war. How many of you think that America would buy that same line if the shoe was on the other foot? I'm asking. Okay, so that's the end of that article, but it's an article that I want to bring up because there's something in this article that came out a few days ago. I hope this is the one. Oh, yeah, I think this is it. This article, I saved this, and it's from the 30th of January. I saved this. I didn't want to lose this article because I saw something in it. And it goes right along what we're talking about, everybody. And again, before we go further, I want to thank each and every one of you who are joining me, who are giving me your time. Unlike other people, I'm letting you know that I really appreciate you giving me your time. I know that time is limited and time is precious. And so I'm trying to give you an equal or greater return in the time that you're spending with me. If I omit something, charge it to my head, not to my heart, because I'm really trying to talk to you all in the way that I believe that everybody should be talked to. Straightforward. Look them in the eyes, talk to them, tell them what is and what isn't. It doesn't have to be all these shades of gray in between. It doesn't have to be like that. A man and a woman will respect you if you talk to them like they're supposed to be talked to, even if we disagree. The whole world has gotten away from doing that. I'm telling you, it is absolutely insane. Let's go to this article real quick, okay? And we're going to play a few more of those clips, all right? And if you hear something in the background, we're looking for something also, a missing piece to something. So, the article is titled, Biden says decided how to respond to attack on U.S. base in Mideast. Doesn't want wider war. At the end of that title, doesn't want wider war. Okay. Now, if a person does not want a wider war, how do we know it? Because we judge by their actions, right? And we judge by their movements, right? We judge by the policies. If say, I don't know, I got to check the chat. But say I know Holly's in there. I was going to say Mehdi, but I don't know. I got to check, but I know Mehdi's in there. I know he's in there, so I got to give a shout out to him too, even though I haven't looked in there yet. Again, but let's say Holly. I tell Holly, listen, I don't want escalation, but I am gonna come through your yard. I know you got locks on it, but I'm coming through your yard. I'm coming up on your porch, and I'm kicking through your door, and I'm gonna take your child, and I'm throwing them out over the gate. But I don't want any escalation now. We can leave it like that. And listen, when I throw him over the gate, I'm just gonna beat him. I'm not gonna beat him to death. I'm just gonna beat him every day. They talked about a multi-tiered attack, multi-leveled attack on multiple bases. That's not escalation. What is this? If that's not escalation, what is escalation? What is escalation? Right? I believe we have the definition for it. Escalation First of all, it's a noun. A rapid increase or a rise. Rapid increase, rise, height, advance, growth, leap, upsurge. So if you are killing me and you are striking me and you're striking me multiple times, that's an upsurge in strikes, right? That's an upsurge in killing, right? So what is it called by definition terms? Escalation. According to the definition, that is the epitome of what escalation is. So now let's go back to that article. All right. And the article reads like this. Joe Biden said on Tuesday that he has decided how to respond to the drone attacks on a military base on Jordan-Syria border. Now it's on the Jordanian-Syrian border. It ain't in Jordan now. All right. Oh, man. That killed 3 U.S. soldiers, but indicated that he does not want a wider war in the Middle East. Now, let's look before we read further. Did the U.S. deploy multiple carrier groups there? All around the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, the Arabian Sea, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean? Are there warships? Is there a buildup of troops, weapons, warplanes, bombs, radars? Is that going on? Sure there is. Okay. Why? And why did the United States order troops to be on standby for a wider Gaza war? If you don't want escalation, why are you signaling escalation? Because, when you're dealing with people, and say, for instance, you got somebody that's belligerent, sometimes, and I know I've done that multiple times when I'm dealing with somebody that's belligerent, I'm saying to myself, I'll crush this person, but why do we have to get physical when I can use common sense and be civilized and get myself out of this situation? While this person is first I just saw him by putting my hands up. Hey, look, we don't have to talk to each other like this. Let's communicate, Now, as I'm talking to them, I'm looking them in their eye. I'm looking them in their eyes. I'm looking all the telltale signs of the shoulders, seeing if they're tensed up, because a tense shoulder could be a shoulder ready to strike, come through with a strike. So I'm looking at the shoulders. I'm looking at the movement of the legs. I'm looking at whether or not they're jittery. I'm looking at if they're starting to, every time someone comes around, they up the volume, when they're talking to me. I'm looking at all of this stuff. Now, when I'm trying to disarm this person, and this person starts to think and talk rational, and then now when people are around, they're not getting jumpy, and you don't see the tenseness in their shoulders and in their neck and in their chest, right? Then now, okay, I'm saying, okay, I can see that maybe they don't want escalation. But when you see all the signs, the tense neck, the constant verbal abuse, the belligerence, and as you move back, they move forward. As you move to the side, they move to the side. When you see this is a telltale sign that somebody is preparing to strike you. 9 times out of 10. This is a telltale sign that somebody wants to do damage to you. Right? So when we look at America's movements with the deployment of battleships, troops, warplanes, heavy equipment, radars, missiles, all around the Middle East and West Asia, and we hear the belligerent talk coming out of pundits on Western news, and out of people that have connections, and out of the people who control policies, how can that not be escalatory? Huh? How can that not be? You taught this day one in martial arts. How can that not be escalatory? Huh? So we're using just basic principles to look at this, to see if what he is saying, if the rhetoric matches the action. They don't want escalation. Okay, let's read a little bit more. And let's see. It says, yes, Biden told reporters when asked whether he has chosen a response, adding, I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for. When a person continues to say that, and yet all policy and all movements that they've made are stating the opposite, that person is either outright lying to you or trying to build up a case so if things go south, they can say we didn't want escalation, we didn't want war. We told you multiple times that we didn't want war, even as all the signs pointed toward them preparing for war. Let's go further. It says, Biden also said he holds Iran partly responsible for the deadly attack on U.S. troops. This is the part I wanted. Because when I read this, I was like, is this dude flipping insane? All right. This is the part I wanted. This is what I kept this for. That is one sentence in this article. I didn't read the whole article. When I got to this part here, I stopped. And I said, this is something that needs to be talked about right here. Now, mind you, this came out on the 30th of January. This is very important. Okay. And you see me doing this. That's some of that white stuff that they put here to keep swelling down. It's starting to like come out and stuff like this. So they told me it would be like that. And I would have to have gauze and wipe my tongue and stuff like that. I'm gonna be going through that for the next month or so. So you guys got to just deal with that. So you'll see me doing this. You'll see me doing this because I'm trying to keep the air off of it too. So check this out. And I apologize, but at least I'm doing it live with it. I could have came up with an excuse because my back was hurting and everything, but excuses don't float here. Listen to what he said here. He says, and you'll see why I'm stuck on this in a minute. All right. Biden also said he holds Iran partly responsible for the deadly attack on the U.S. troops. Now I'm gonna tell you why he said that. Okay. And when I read to you what he said, you're gonna say, is this dude a straight lunatic? He's got to be a berserker. He's got to be. Look up that word berserker. He's got to be a berserker. Does this guy really want peace, or is he out for war and disguising it? Next, I'm going to reread the sentence that I just read. Remember, I do this for a reason, to provoke thought. Biden also said he holds Iran partly responsible for the deadly attack on the U.S. troops. Now, listen to his reasoning for holding Iran partly responsible, okay? Here it is. Quote, I do hold them responsible in the sense that they are supplying the weapons to the people who did it. Mic drop moment. I do hold them responsible in the sense that they are supplying the weapons to the people who did it. Well, if we use your logic and your justification, can't Syria hold you responsible for what you're doing? Can't Russia hold you responsible for the downing of that airline? Can't Russia hold you responsible for the constant attacks on Belgorod region with the Western supplied drones and all of these other weapons? If we use Joe Biden's justification while holding Iran partly responsible, I said, is this dude a lunatic? Does he think before he speaks? They should have pulled him away before allowing him to say that. Because now Russia can use that, and I told you, they should have been using that. Hey, okay, I see what you do. You say you're not complicit, but you're supplying the money, the weapons, the training, the intelligence, and you are also manning some of the weapons systems. Man, if you don't get out of here, the next missile flies across this border, I'm shooting a couple of them over you. See, a lot of people don't like that. They say, well, no, we don't want escalation. Well, why? If Russia does it, it's escalation. But when America does it, it's standing up for freedom. So let's stand up for freedom together, America. If I'm Vladimir Putin, I say, you know what? And I'll tell Germany, I'll tell the UK, I'll tell Brussels, I'll tell all of them. Since this is standing up for democracy and this is standing up for freedom, let's do it together. Let's all stand up for it. When they fly across mine, they're going to fly across yours. This is the only language that the bully understands. And we got the justification for it by the man at the White House. I do hold them who? Iran, responsible in the sense that they are supplying the weapons to the people who did it. Right there. So when those UK and French missiles fly across, okay, I'm gonna shoot one across yours. All right. Well, that's an attack on NATO. Well, NATO is attacking me. You've got to have that resolve, especially when you have the population of an entire nation in your hand, and some of them are becoming victims to the onslaught of this madness. You've got to protect your citizens like everybody else. How would America feel if Russia say, for instance, if America and Mexico were warring it out over lost territory that America took from Mexico, all right? And Russia was there manning the S-300s, the S-400s. Every time a missile was shot, you see a Russian AWACS flying around, feeding direct information to the drones and to the intelligence center, so that they can relay real-time intelligence to those who are firing the rockets and those who are moving troops through the area. Do you think America would allow that? I'm asking you this because these people are out of their minds. Listen to this again. If this is not bizarro world, and these people are not crazy as hell, why would they even say something like this? Huh? Just listen to this again. Man, this is so unreal. When I read that part right there, I did not read nothing else after that. I said, I got to save this. I have to save this. And it says, yes, Biden told reporters when asked whether he has chosen a response, adding, I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for. Now, Russia could say the same thing. Listen, I don't think we need a wider war in Europe. That's not what I'm looking for. But I do hold the United States and NATO officials partly responsible because they are the ones supplying the weapons, the logistics, the intelligence, and all of that. So now we're going to retaliate on NATO territory because NATO is hitting us on our territory. We can't allow this to go untouched because the more you do it, the more they'll do it. And we see it. We see it. When Russia does not respond, what happens? Talk to me. Am I advocating war? No way. Sometimes, see, when Medvedev was talking brash and strong, America said, okay, I hear. Now we're gonna see Russia's reaction when we send these tanks over there, when we send these missiles over there, when we send these drones over there, when we give them intel, when we fly these AWACS over there and give them real time. All the stuff that Putin and Medvedev was warning the West not to do. The West put out feelers to see the reaction of Moscow. And after so long, guess what Milley said? We no longer fear an escalation by the Russian side. They feared it at first. But because they were allowed to get away with so many pinprick hits, that they, in their mind, they said Russia would not risk a war with NATO. And so we can do this, and we can hit Belgorod, and we can do this without fearing Russia striking NATO territory or a NATO base in return. And look what that has led up to. Because Russia has been passive in those regions and taking it out in certain areas in Ukraine. Look what happened. The world is getting pushed closer and closer to thermonuclear war. Had Russia nipped that in the bud at first, I hate this little reflection on my head with this light. But anyway, because it looks like a drop down right here, but it's the light shining right here. But if Russia would have reacted in the way that it said it would from the jump, then that would have made people say, "Oh, you know what? We can't do any and everything that we want. We cannot escalate." Matter of fact, Vladimir Putin has already said this, that they have good intelligence that there were some U.S. soldiers manning the Patriot system that knocked down that plane, the Russian cargo plane, over Belgorod. Is that not an act of war? What is? I'm asking everybody. So sending tanks, coup d'etats, drones into the capital, Moscow, the launching of missiles and HIMARS systems in Russian territory, those are not act of war. That's not act of war. But then to Putin himself, I didn't say this. Putin said this, that they have information that there were U.S. troops manning the Patriot systems that downed that cargo plane that had prisoners of war on there for a swap, that U.S. soldiers manned that and shot it down. They didn't shoot it down over Ukraine. They didn't shoot it down over disputed Russian-Ukrainian territory. They shot it down over Belgorod. That's Russian territory. No dispute about it. That's not war. That's not an act of war by NATO. That's not an act of war by the United States. I'm not pushing for war. But what I'm telling you is this: when you let one side get too out of pocket, this is the blowback effect of it. There must be something that happens that restores the balance. If it doesn't, war is going to happen regardless, because one side is going to feel that they can do any and everything they want, and they're going to go a little too far, and then they're not going to be able to put the genie back in the bottle. Telling you this now because I deal with people on a daily basis, and governments are only a picture of the citizens they represent. If you go around anywhere in America, if you allow somebody to talk to you and handle you in any kind of way, it escalates. It escalates. And they believe that you're scared of them, even though you have shown no sign that you're scared of them. But they believe because you're trying to be civil and that you're trying to obey the laws, that you are afraid of them and they can take it to the next level. That's what the governments of the West continue to do. Oh, man. And listen, let's read a little bit more. Because like I said, after I read that sentence there, those sentences there, I stopped. But let's go a little further. Oh, man. Yeah, I got like 10 minutes. Got like 10 more minutes live on the air with you guys. Then I got to go get my daughter. All right. And then I might come back later. If everything is right, I might come back in a couple hours, an hour or so, to try to do a short stream on that too, okay? If I'm able to. If not, we will be streaming. I'll be doing a stream. I don't know if it's going to be a patron or a channel member stream tomorrow. So just bear with me. Let's see. It says, I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it, Biden said. U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby in turn said that the guiding principle of U.S. President Joe Biden's decision on responding to the drone attack is ensuring that Washington continues to degrade the capabilities of the groups attacking U.S. forces. Is that not exactly what Russia said that their mission is? To degrade the Ukrainian forces and to degrade their mercenaries and their patrons, their capabilities, to disarm them, right? They're not right. So the difference between what Russia's doing and what America's doing is America's lashing out, because she does not fear a major reprisal. And isn't that why they said that mutually assured destruction was the basis for a stable world? This is what they said between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Why? Because both of them understood that if one of them took it too far, then boom goes the dynamite. Well, that balance must be restored between the United States, NATO, and Russia. Or else the escalation will continue and the things will get so out of hand that Russia would be forced to take a technical military response to NATO. I'm telling you this. This is common sense. This is the first law of nature, self-preservation. So it says, when asked what is the guiding principle as the president makes his decision, Kirby said that it was making sure that the U.S. continues to degrade the kinds of capabilities that these groups have at their disposal to use against U.S. troops and facilities. Same thing Russia said. It says, and to send a strong signal, listen to this, but Russia's not doing this, and to send a strong signal to their backers in the IRGC, meaning the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, that these attacks are unacceptable. And we are going to do, the president will do what he has to do to protect our troops and our facilities and to look after our national security interests in the region. So forget Iran's national security interests. Forget that Iran resides in the region. Forget Iraq's national security interests. Forget that Iraq resides in the region. Forget Lebanese national interests. Forget that Lebanon resides in that region. Forget the Palestinians and their interests. And remember that they've resided in that region. And forget the Syrians' national interests. And forget that they reside in the interest. The only interest that matters is from a state that is not there. You see that? And to send a strong signal to their backers in the IRGC that these attacks are unacceptable. And we are going to do. The president will do what he has to do to protect our troops and our facilities. If he wanted to do what he had to do to protect them, he'd bring them from over there. When you're not in harm's way, don't expect harm. Huh? When you put them in harm's way and you provoke, agitate, and poke, a hornet's nest, guess what happens? The hornets come out stinging. That's what happens. It says, and then he says, the president will do what he has to do to protect our troops and our facilities. Listen to this. And to look after our national security interests in the region. To hell with everybody else that reside in the region's national interests, territorial integrity, and national sovereignty. To hell with that. All we're concerned about is America's national security and interests. What interests do you have that can compel you to be this belligerent over there? And how can your national interests and your interest in the region supersede nations that reside in the region? I want you to tell me, explain that to me. Explain that to me. Because you're disregarding everybody else's national interests, everybody else's national security. And you're disregarding the security of the entire region by putting bases there, fomenting terrorism there, backing unjust occupation. So you're putting everybody else's national security up, just throwing it to the wall or lighting it on fire. And all you're concerned about is what you want. You don't reside there. Your base of operation is back home 5, 7, 8,000 miles away. How is that? Listen, I'm a different type of dude. You cannot run this stuff by me and think I'm just going to accept this. You can't do that. I'm nobody's fool. And you just can't say these things to be saying it just to get people on your side. Flying Crocodile 46 says, cool, Russia can blitzkrieg Kiev to send a clear message to NATO and US using the same reasoning. True. They sure can. What I'm saying, I'm not advocating striking anybody. Flying Crocodile, I'm not advocating that. But what I'm saying is so many times that part gets left out of the equation. Why must I suffer all of the damage? If we're fighting, why do I have to always take the bloody nose, the black eye, the swollen lip, and the scratches? How come you can't get no scratches? How come you can't get a bloody nose? How come your window can't be broke? Why mine always have to be broken? That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you on that. Russia can blitzkrieg Kiev, or it can do whatever it wants in Kiev, but and get using the same reasoning. Yeah, but at the same time, it won't be the same message because America will still put weapons in there. Now, had Russia done that at the beginning or sometime midway during this war, then that would have been enough for the U.S. to pause, the West to pause. But if Russia is doing nothing in response to being attacked over and over and over and over again, and only handling it in Kiev when the attacks are coming from elsewhere, then that's something. Like, say, for instance, Russia has information. Let me tell you this. Russia has reliable, unbreakable information that when some of the attacks go down, the United States and NATO send up AWACS, right? Those what I call sky antennas, so that they can see everything that's going on the battlefield, and they can relay the stuff back to the headquarters or to whomsoever they desire at that time, so that they can have real ground actionable intelligence, right? They send up drones for the same purpose, and every time there's been a strike or a hit on Russia's naval facilities or a hit on Russia's warships, it has been when those things go up in the air. That's not a declaration of war, especially when I told you to keep your planes from this area right here while this war is going on. That does not require a response. I'm losing. My bases get hit deep in my interior, and my resolve is to just to hit Kiev or to hit Ukraine. I'm gonna do that anyhow. I have that resolve. I'm going to get the Nazis out of there. But now I want to give a message to the people who keep attacking my interior. Think about this, flying crocodile. Check this out. Months ago, last year, there was a massive strike on multiple Russian bases in its interior, deep in its interior. One of the bases dealt with planes that deal with the launch of nuclear missiles, right? Russia hit and destroyed a NATO base in Ukraine, right? Now, I want to ask you something. I want to ask everybody something. Let's flip the script for a second. Now, what if America had actionable intelligence that Russia was behind a massive drone attack on a couple of his main airfields and bases, damaged a couple of airplanes, and struck where some of his nuclear armaments were kept? What would America's response be? America would go to the horse's mouth, right? She wouldn't go just in Ukraine. She would first, she may warn Russia. The next time you do it, that's a declaration of war. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or she may say, we know you did. You got to deal with this strike. We're not trying to escalate, but we got to strike you back. We got to strike you back. We have to. So that's all I'm saying is what's good for the goose could be good for the gander. I'm not advocating war. When I do these shows, one of the purposes of this is to show you the other line of thinking that nobody talks about. Because in the West, they think they're untouchable. And they think that they can do anything with impunity. And what I'm saying to you, sometimes that has to go out the window. I'm not advocating war in the least. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to sit there and just let you slap me, hit me, kick me, bite me, kill my children, break into my house, throw rocks through my house, kick down my door on a daily basis. And then I go down the street and hit your son, who's my size, hit him in his house. No, I'm coming at you. My problem is with you. You just did this. So again, Crocodile said, the truth is that Russia does not need to escalate, as they have already won the war and are now simply cleaning the mess that remains. They don't want to risk that victory by escalating unnecessarily. Crocodile, you said, the truth is that Russia does not need to escalate. I didn't say for Russia to escalate. I said for Russia to retaliate. That's the difference. Those are two different words. Those are two different meanings. I'm saying warn them. You have to warn people. Don't just strike out at nobody. But you got back channels. You go to the back channels and say, listen, we've been letting this get out of hand now. We know, and you, just like what Russia did with France, all right? When France had those special forces in that hotel, and Russia destroyed that hotel that took out those French special forces, what was it, about a week and a half ago, they called the French ambassador to Moscow, and they laid out all this intelligence briefing to them and say, listen, don't say that you had no warning. We got this. We caught this, you know, because they catch the chatter, they catch the back channel stuff, they catch the on the ground stuff, all of this stuff, just like the intelligence apparatus that the West has, Russia has that too. And Russia put all that before France and told France, listen, this is a declaration of war. You're manning these systems, and you are firing these missiles that you claim to be transferring to Ukraine. This is why we destroyed those French special forces. If this happens again, we will hold you responsible. That's what I'm saying. That should be the same thing for everybody. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And Flying Crocodile said the truth is that the U.S. is too scared to hit Russia in the face of using. I can't see this. What is going on? Hold on one second. They are blocking that part right there. Using its own fist. Yeah. But they continue to push the envelope. You understand what I'm saying? They continue to push the envelope. To stop that, you know what you need to do? Talk to them first. Whenever you want to get a point across to somebody, you talk to them eye to eye, face to face. And you let them know your red lines and say, listen now, I know that other people are pushing for this, but listen, this will be my response if you do X, Y, and Z. And when X, Y, and Z happens, you are supposed to live up to your word. Medvedev and Putin kept saying what they were going to do, which I kept saying they should not have said, because the empire said, oh, you going to say that? Okay, then we're going to do it then. And they did it. And there was no response. And this is the escalation right here. When the United States continues to do these things, it's not Russia escalating, it's the U.S. escalating. Russia should retaliate, whichever form that is. I don't know if economic retaliation, I don't know political retaliation, or military retaliation. I'm not in the criminal, but I'm just saying the only way to stop a bully from being aggressive is to get aggressive with the bully when reasoning no longer works. When reasoning no longer works and the talk gives way to belligerence, you got to preserve your security. That's what I'm saying. And we think in the West that only the West has the right for this. And I'm telling you, no, that's not how the way the world is. That's not how nature is. That's not even how nature evolves. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say to everybody. He says disproportionate retaliation is escalation. I didn't say disproportionate. You added disproportionate. I said retaliate. I did not say escalate. Disproportionate retaliation is escalation. What America is doing right now. I did not say disproportionate. I said if they sock you in the nose, you sock them back. That's not disproportionate. That's an eye for an eye. If you throw a rock through my window, I'm going to throw one through yours. That's what I'm saying. And maybe common sense will start to prevail, because this other way has not worked. We know that because we are on the escalator to thermonuclear war. So we know this other way has not worked. It has not stopped the provocation. It has not stopped the escalation. And it has not stopped the drumbeats of war from the West. It has only incentivized them to continue to escalate. That's all I'm saying. When something, listen, they give an old saying, and I know I have to go, but listen, they give this old saying. And which is attributed to Einstein, which I often say. Everybody now says it on the internet, but if you go back to my earlier, you'll see me saying it constantly. This old saying that is attributed to Einstein is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting a different result. It's the definition of insanity. So you keep doing the same thing and you want them to stop escalating. They keep escalating and you keep doing the same thing that caused them to escalate, but you want them to de-escalate. That's insanity. Somehow you have to sit down and think through the fog and say, hey, this is not working this way. And if it is not working this way, and we have military planners and think tanks and all of this that we pay to get us a solution and to have multiple layouts, now we must discard this one and go to the next plan because this ain't working. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I'm not advocating war. No. I'm not advocating launching weapons on but I'm just telling you from a different perspective. If that were me, and you launching on my territory, then I got to do it on yours. At first, I'll talk to you, and we'll see if we can stop the rock throwing. But if that's not enough, and you continue to be belligerent, then we're going to discard the civility, and then we're going to have to be savages together. I'm not going to just allow you to be a savage wreaking havoc on me. That's not how it's going to be. We'll talk civilized. We'll try to manage things civilized. And if civilization is not up here in you, and all I can see is savagery through your action, through your talk, through your mannerism, through your policy, then I'm going to talk the language of the savage then. And we'll see if you understand that. That's what I'm saying. Listen, thanks for each and every one of you for joining me. Hey, please subscribe to the channel. Listen to me good. I'm the only one on YouTube, I believe, that can have 100 and some people. My dashboard shows me different than y'all. Right here it says right now it's like 73 people live, all right, in the chat. Now, I'm the only person that can have that and have new subscribers. And then when I go back to my studio, my YouTube studio, if I had 3,670 subscribers, I'm the only one after getting new subscribers that goes back and it says 6,310. And this is an everyday thing. So I'm asking you all to check your subscriptions to see if they unsubscribe you. Hit the bell notification and also resubscribe. Go subscribe to all our platforms. Hit the like button. I love chatting with you all. I'm going to try to get back here. To try to do, but it's on my daughter. She's a manager now at her place. And so I got to try to go get her. And sometimes she's not off when she says she's off. Anybody knows what I'm talking about with your child. But anyway, listen, I love this banter back and forth. I love when we can talk because this is the only way you get solutions and answers. We can disagree, but as long as we are agreeable. And I'm not advocating war. I'm advocating sound judgment, rational policy, right? And I'm saying that America does not have the sole prerogative of national security and national interest. I'm saying that the Western world does not have the sole prerogative on national security and national interest. I'm saying that they don't have the sole prerogative to live safe while everybody else is living in hell. They don't have that prerogative to destabilize everybody else and expect for them to have a stable living environment. That's not how life is. If all one has to do is go look at the jungle. Look at the jungle. And you'll see how animals act, you'll see how nature really is. On that note, listen, I love you, but know that my love always pales in comparison to the love that my God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. You know I love you. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you all.